Hey, welcome back to the channel. This is Chris. Hope you're doing good. Today we're going to talk about this little guy here. This is the Fujifilm X-T50. I had it only for a little bit, but enough for me to tell you that I like it a lot. So backtracking a little bit, I started with Fujifilm with the X-T10. That was my very first camera from Fuji. So I have a little bit of nostalgia regarding this X-T50 because we had the 10, the 20, the 30, the 32, and now the 50. Out of the bunch, I feel like this is a very good upgrade. They brought everything from the previous models and the new cameras that we had lately into this little body, and they did it in a great way. It is a bit like if you take the X-T5 and the X100VI, you put them together and you get this little guy. Now the X100VI is a great pocket camera. My only beef with it is the fact that it has a 23mm prime, which is great for some, but for me it was a little bit too... I didn't like that because I wanted to be able to change lenses. That's simple. So I had several X100 series cameras and I sold them all in the end because I wanted to be able to have this flexibility. And this is what the X-T50 gives you, the flexibility. Now, could you use this professionally like you would with an X-T5? Probably not, because of several different factors like battery, I would say. The dual slot, SD slot, that's something useful when you're shooting, for example, an event, a wedding and so forth, and you want to back up your data on 2 SD cards, and a few other things, form factor, size. But you could, meaning technically you could do that. If you're not scared of losing your data, it has the same processor, it has exactly the same internals, and it can do really cool things. Let's dive into it and let's see what it can do. There is a 40.2 megapixels X-Trans CMOS 5 HR sensor, as we've seen on many of the previous Fujifilm cameras, the latest Fujifilm cameras, which means that it is fast, it is very snappy, it processes information greatly, and it gives you that extra count of megapixels. You might be wondering how big your RAW files are going to be. By the way, if you're shooting uncompressed, you're going to reach around 85 megabytes per file, and if you're shooting lossless compressed, you will reach 55 megabytes per RAW file. The X-Processor 5 imaging engine was obviously updated and included in this camera, which allows you to shoot AI or subject detection, such as, for example, animals, birds, cars, motorcycles, bicycles, airplanes, trains, insects, even drones, if you set it to airplane detection, which is great. And I wanted to test this a little bit, so I'm going to show you my dog, my little Frenchie. I did not show this dog to anyone in this channel ever. I don't think you've seen him, and he's 8+ years old now, and he's a great model. So here you go. There is now up to 7 stops of IBIS, which is great news. We didn't have this on the X-T32 or any of the previous models, and that is great if you want to shoot handheld up to 1/4 of a second without having shaky images. Let's talk about the maximum electronic shutter speed. We went from 1/32,000 of a second to 1/180,000 of a second. That is a huge improvement between the previous model and this model. So now there's literally no excuses not to shoot wide open in bright daylight, and you really don't have to worry about the shutter speed. There is a film simulation dial up here. That is a neat little feature, and when you turn it, you will see a wheel on the display that shows you which film simulation with a little film stock on the side. It looks really neat, very cool. It's not necessary, but it looks good. It's a little aesthetic, little plus that I like. And they obviously included Reala Ace being now one of my favorite, along with Classic Chrome. Those two are good film simulations that I really enjoy using. And yeah, it's a little touch that changes a bit from any other Fujifilm camera. The EVF is 2.36 million dots, which is the same as the previous X-T32, which is totally fine for the size of the EVF, the size of the camera. And honestly, I feel like the colors that you see in the EVF are very similar to the actual colors that you're gonna get on your photo. It's a bit of a strange feeling, but that's how I perceived it. That's how I saw it. Maybe someone else noticed that too. If you did, write it down in the comment section below. But anyways, I really like the EVF, and I think it's just perfect. There is a tilting LCD screen that comes out like so. You can take a photo from down below or from above, which is convenient. The standard sensitivity of the sensor is now 125 compared to 160. which is great. You gain a little bit of ISO there. You can go a little lower, especially if you're shooting in bright daylight and you want to keep it low, you can do so. Like all the XT series before this, there's an auto mode, which is right here. And when you go auto, everything is fully automatic. Very convenient and useful for beginners, or if you're starting in photography, or if you don't want to just have the hustle of it to change your ISO, your aperture, your shutter speed, and so forth. Just put it in auto mode and you're good to go. Let's now talk about something I don't like so much, and that is the lack of weather resistance. It is not weather sealed. That would have made it the perfect pocket camera, in my opinion. But anyways, I can get over it here in Switzerland, not a big deal. But if you live somewhere that's humid and or dusty and that you don't want that stuff to get into your sensor, well, I would take another camera. Now, I have the 16-50, the new lens right here. I did not have it long enough to be able to fully test it. I have the other counterpart, the older lens too, here in the office, but I will be doing a review very soon on my channel as soon as I get it back. So stay tuned and do subscribe if you didn't do it yet. The other thing I would love to see is a second SD slot. Now, I don't know if they don't add a second SD slot because they don't want to cannibalize the X-T5 sales, because if you add 2 slots and backup mode on this camera, I mean, this is going to be really tempting for a lot of people as compared to an X-T5 that's bigger. So that's one thing that could be great to see in future models. The other thing is the batteries. They're still the good old batteries. Now, I got probably 12 of these guys, okay? So it's not like I'm lacking batteries and I could not take 5 with me in case. But while they claim that you can take around 305, 310 shots, something like that, if you use power-hungry features such as AI, for example, subject detection, continuous shooting, bursts, and so forth, your battery is going to drain real fast, like faster than I normally see batteries draining. So just keep that in mind. That's the other thing that I would love seeing improved in a future model. But other than that, pretty much everything about this camera is something that I really appreciate. One little extra tip that I don't know if you know, but it's good to know, is the fact that you can put both the film dial on C and the exposure compensation, both of them on C mode. And when you do that and you press down the front dial, it's going to allow you to choose between film, ISO, and exposure compensation. And once you do that, you just turn the little dial here in the front and you can switch between those features. That's an extra plus. If you don't like to fiddle around with dials and so forth, you can assign them quickly by using the 2 C modes. Ain't that cool? There, that concludes my video. Let me know in the comment section below what you think about this film dial here. Is it something you enjoy or not? Do you think it's a good move from Fuji? Do you like this camera as much as I do? And I see you in my next video. Don't forget to subscribe so you don't miss any of my future content. Keep taking great shots and see you soon. Cheers.